Mike became one of Special Branch's most effective agent handlers. Recruiting them required nerve, courage, and cheek.
There's no use lying and saying you're a travelling salesman who can make them a lot of money selling blinds. I mean, you have to be basically upfront about it, and you have to tell them who you are, what you are, and that they may be able to help you. There are many reasons for people to offer information. Some of them are related to money, some of them are related to motive, maybe a grudge against some particular person or organisation. Perhaps a feeling that what was being done wasn't quite right, and they would dispute the tactics of the particular organisation. I know that's a fact in many occasions.
Some people can be open to pressure, to threats, to financial rewards. There is always that. There's always that danger, no matter what organisation. There's always the danger of people being turned.
Like their debt counterparts, Special Branch handlers have to live on their nerves and survive on the streets. Mike lived to tell the tale. His partner did not.
He was working on the Falls Road. We had some intelligence about an operation. He and some other colleagues were following that up. As he got to the junction of Clonard Street, somebody walked across a pedestrian crossing. He braked. Somebody walked up to the passenger window and fired shots through the window and killed him.
Were you close to him?
On a personal basis, very close, yeah. I was devastated, as was everybody else involved in the operation. But that's the risk we ran, all of us.
It was a deadly game of cat and mouse. By the beginning of 1974, the IRA was convinced it had the upper hand. It had pulled off an astonishing coup, masterminded from this house in Myrtlefield Park. The IRA had moved upmarket. Inside, Brendan Hughes, who by now had escaped from prison, was bugging Army headquarters, thanks to a friendly telephone engineer. Whilst putting in a backup telephone system for the Army, he was tapping military intelligence for the IRA.
He was able to put this device onto lines coming into Lisburn Army headquarters. And it was a simple tape. The calls would have come in, information would have come in, and every few days these tapes would be delivered to a house in Myrtlefield Park.
There was, however, a snag. The tapes of conversations between various Army intelligence officers were unintelligible. They'd been scrambled. Again, the resourceful engineer was asked to help.
You couldn't understand. It was like Mickey Mouse type dialogue. And we found out that the only place we could get this was an anti-scrambler device. And there was one in Lisburn Army headquarters. This was stolen out of Army headquarters and brought to Myrtlefield Park.
By the same person?
By the same person.
Special Branch was finally tipped off about the bugging by an informer. Now they turned the tables. Undercover police officers prepared to move in whilst the debt staked out the house.
On the night of the lift, when we had the Army and the IUC go into the place, we had a man in one of the bushes in the garden.
In the garden?
Yes, in a rhododendron bush, camouflaged out.
Wasn't that a bit obvious in the front garden?
He got away with it. Nobody knew. The only problem was he'd been there for 24 hours with only a Mars bar, and he was an extremely hungry person. And we tried to resupply him with some fish and chips. Unfortunately, the fish and chips got thrown into the wrong bush.
They came in, and I was immediately put against the wall and searched. I obviously protested my innocence and indignation that this was happening at my house. And there was a plainclothes Special Branch man actually said to me, "Come on, Dark, you got a long enough run." So I knew the game was up then. So,
what did you say to Brendan Hughes when you knocked on the door?
Well, he was complaining, and I thought I made some comment to him, yeah, that he had a fair run and he shouldn't be complaining too much about his arrest.
To Paul, the arrest of Hughes was one of the highlights of his long career as an undercover Special Branch officer. What did Mr. Hughes say to you?
Oh, interesting. He said, I'm sure you're not going to tell me how you did this operation, but congratulations. It's a good operation.
Had they swooped 5 minutes later, they would have netted the engineer. He'd stopped off en route for a sandwich. The media was never informed about the bugging. This is the first time the story's been told. Did you ever try to recruit Brendan Hughes?
I did.
And what did Mr. Hughes say when you tried to recruit him?
Absolutely nothing.
What did you say to him?
I thought, well, I explained to him that he could help us, and in his position, he was in a great position to help us and to put an end to what was going on, but I fell on stony ground.
Money was offered, yeah, a suitcase full of money I could have if I turned. And obviously I just versed it off. He wasn't listening to it. Yeah, but of course he did, yeah.
What did the policeman say to you?
That I could have a suitcase full of money if I turned. If I turned.
Did you say how big was the suitcase?
No, I never said a word. I never even answered. I never took it on to be noticed.
By 1974, most IRA leaders were behind the wires of the Long Kesh prison camp. The Det and Special Branch had no doubt they were on top. Many operations carried out by the IRA outside were being compromised. The Brits felt they were winning. What was the state of the IRA in 1974?
They were on their knees.
Could the IRA have been beaten then?
Yes.
I think the IRA was under severe pressure. I think for the first time from the early 1970, the British military machine was actually working, and the IRA was under severe pressure.
Without putting too fine a point on it, we had them by the short and curlies, and if another 4 months, if we'd been allowed to get on with it, we would have totally eliminated them, as the army would have eliminated the whole of the IRA, as it was well on the way, frankly, to doing so.
I am convinced that we could have changed the course of history had the political will remained there.